Our attorney, the Alliance's seismologist, and I were asked to leave that meeting before it began, which we have now documented to both the Nuclear Regulatory Commission as well as Public Utilities President Michael Peavy. It's apparent that we'll never be aware what ground motion information was of such intensely proprietary or secret nature that the public would be precluded from simply observing the proceeding. When Dr. Andy Kammerer was contacted at the NRC, her explanation was that transparency apparently means something different to the NRC, and she writes, quote, the workshops also ensure that any decisions made by the team conducting the study are well documented and technically sound. Transparency here relates to the technical community's work. The new Reg 2117 requirements for these workshops do not meet the definition of public meeting. The workshops are typically held by invitation only, which again seems counter to the document itself, which states interested parties, under transparency column, interested parties can view the interactions at the workshops. Now, while we can't vouch for what Southern California Edison does not wish to disclose or have heard by the public at these workshops, nor have they posted videos, nor were any video cameras present in the room, nor have any transcripts been brought forward, we know that Diablo Canyon shares that workshop with them. So if you divide it between Palo Verde, Diablo, and San Onofre, there's 1/3 of the information that at least falls in your purview here today that we were not privy to. And since we don't find it meeting the definition of openness and transparency, since we clearly find ourselves as interested parties wishing to view these interactions, we find it a disturbing development.
And I'll start with Weisman's comment first. I was there at that workshop on a technical, you understand why we're there. We ought to be there. We have a stake in understanding that, and I was there. And Giesman and Weisman and there was a third colleague were there when it started, and then I looked around at the coffee break and they weren't there, and I didn't have any idea why. And when I asked, I was told that they were asked to leave. I have no idea why that was. I know that PG&E was not the instigator of that. So I don't have any idea about that. I was as unhappy as you were with the notion that it wouldn't be an open meeting, open to, by the way, members of the public, not to participate, but just to observe. That was the understanding of PG&E as well, and I don't have any idea what's going to be done about that, except I've said some words to people, but again, because it's outside our remit, it's not something where we're going to take a position.
Since Mr. Weisman and Mr. Giesman brought this subject matter of denial of access to that meeting to the attention of the committee, I do want to make an inquiry to our legal counsel's office. Is there somewhere that the committee can make an inquiry on behalf of a member of the public to see if any information may be released to them for the sake of public safety? So that's an inquiry I would like to ask our legal counsel's office to make.
There's a couple of things I'd like to say and answer, particularly to Mr. Weisman and Mr. Giesman. As Bob Budnitz has pointed out, within our charter, we don't, I think, have the direct authority to address the specific problem of not being allowed to participate in and view these workshops. But I'd just like to register in my personal thoughts on that topic, which I think it's a poor decision to exclude members of the public from that type of meeting. It's in fact just downright boneheaded because it's counterproductive in many different ways. And I'm not sure that there's anything that we can do as an independent safety committee, but I'm certainly willing to express my personal opinion that I think that that was a mistake on the part of the people who made those decisions.
Yes, indeed.